Good evening. Hope everybody's having a good time. I'd like to tell y'all how I came to be running for state representative. Me and my brother was talking here a couple years ago about the problems of the United States and our government and whatnot. And we were saying that, we need good people in office. And he said good people don't want to be in government because it's so crooked. But if good people don't get in office soon, there won't be a future for our kids. I agreed with him, and he looked at me and he said, well, what's your excuse? I didn't have a good one. So after a lot of thought and prayer, I decided to run. And y'all won't believe all the advice I've been getting. They told me, James, you'll have to wear a suit and tie so people will take you serious. I told them, that's not me. Well, they said, you need a good sales pitch. I said, I'm not a salesman. I couldn't sell ice water to people in Sahara. Well, they told me I need to get a campaign contribution deal set up. I said, getting on the ballot is like a job interview. And having political action committees paying for your campaign is like having a workers' union rent you a suit to go to a job interview. And then saying, oh, but I'm not going to pay union dues. Okay, well, that's just my opinion. I've said I'm not much of a politician. What I mean by that is, I read a definition of politician. It said a politician is someone who shakes your hand before the election and your acquaintance afterwards. I've seen it happen. We live in a world where if a couple of fellas get to the point where they just decide they hate each other, and they decide, well, let's have a duel. Let's just shoot it out and get it over with. Well, the one that survives, the state will charge him with murder. Okay? But for a woman to get an abortion and kill a helpless baby is her right. Something is drastically wrong. If I said, elect me and I'll fix it, I'd be a liar and a fool. Fixing the mess that we're in today is a job bigger than building the Hoover Dam. I've worked in construction and small construction. And you look at a project as big as the Hoover Dam, and no one person can tackle a project the size that we have to fix this country. It's going to take everybody working together. We won't get anywhere as long as we put people in office that don't even understand that you can't spend more than you make and get anywhere but further in the hole. I heard there are over 900 bills to be considered by whoever y'all elect. I will vote no on any bill I have not read because it's the little things they don't tell you in the briefing. It's not how good it sounds in the briefing. It is how it affects the people. Only an idiot or a very trusting person will sign a blank check or something they haven't read. I'm neither. I hope whoever gets the job that will remember that whatever we do up there will affect not only our kids, but our grandkids. Thank y'all very much.
Well, thank y'all all for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. I count this an honor and a privilege to be able to participate in this process and run for office, something I've never done before. Many of y'all may not know me, so I always like to start out just telling you real briefly about who I am and a little bit about what I stand for. I am originally from as far southwest in Oklahoma as we are here in southeast Oklahoma. Born and raised in the small town of Mangum in my dad's old Tasco store, and that's where all my people were originally from. But about 1978, I was in college at Central State, and I met a gal from eastern Oklahoma, and she's standing right there here almost 33 years later with me. But she drugged me out to this side of the state to visit her folks down around Sardis Lake out in the Jack Fork Mountains. And I had never seen this kind of country before, being from the flat side of the state, and I fell in love with it. And I told her, after we get married someday in the future, I want to live in southeastern Oklahoma. It took us a while to get here, but about 11 years ago we did end up on her side of the state. And I always laugh because when I first took her to Western Oklahoma, she was familiar with the song Oklahoma about the waving wheat and sure smells sweet and the wind comes hooting behind the plains. She didn't have a clue as to what that meant, but I exposed her to that for several years out in Western Oklahoma. I, on the other hand, was real impressed by rivers that have flowing water and lakes that are full, something I didn't experience a whole lot of out in Western Oklahoma. But we currently reside in Ochetown. I'm a small business owner there, Head Reavers Bing Getaways, cabin management business, and we run a bed and breakfast inn called the Turning Leaf Inn. And we've really enjoyed that, and the opportunity that tourism has given me in this county has helped bring some more of my family here. We have 5 children and 5 grandchildren, and 1 more grandchildren on the way. And two of those kids have come back to this area because of what McCurtain County, the opportunity that it's given them, and we've been happy to be a part of that. One thing I always like to say to people, so they'll know exactly who I am, is I am a Christian. I have a biblical worldview of life, and that affects everything I am and everything I do. I believe that the Bible is the true, eternal Word of God, and there are guidelines for us in terms of right and wrong and truth and falsehood. That defines really who I am, above me being a father, husband, a businessman, and now somebody running for office. And I say that to say that that type of worldview will affect the way I view bills and the way I view people, the way I view this county, this state, and this nation. So y'all keep that in mind as you go to the polls on Tuesday. What I really want to do as your representative is represent a strong conservative voice for McCurtain County and for the state of Oklahoma. I believe we have a wonderful way of life here. We've got a lot of things that need to be protected. I would love to be a strong voice for those values. Smaller government, less taxes and regulation. I talk to a lot of people, and I'm a small business owner myself. We get burdened down by taxes and regulations that keep us from doing what we need to do. I talk to a lot of people that are in that same situation. I want to help create the right kind of climate to continue to improve McCurtain County and the incredible opportunity and future that we have here in this county. And I also want to go to the Capitol to help strengthen the state of Oklahoma. Our federal government, as James was referring to, got a little bit out of control. They've overstepped their constitutional rights and boundaries. We need to be about preserving our country and our state and keeping our governments within their constitutional boundaries. They were set up to be limited. We need to keep not only our federal government limited, but our state government limited. I want to be a part of that, fighting for that. Our states need to be strengthened so we can keep this overreaching federal government. We live in a great and wonderful country. We have the best form of government in the world. We need to keep it that way, protect our freedoms and liberties, and I want to help us all do that. That's about it. I just appreciate y'all going to the polls on next Tuesday, and vote for who you think will represent you the best. And it's great to see everybody here and this great facility that Idabel has. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. As Michael said, my name's Bethany Farley. I got into this because of my dad, but the reason I'm running is because I love Oklahoma and I love McCurtain County, and I want to try to do what's best for it. I'll try to touch on some of the issues that I've run across the most in my campaign. One of the biggest ones, of course, is water. I know that this brings up a lot of strong emotions for a lot of people. For me personally, I think that anytime there's been this much talk about something, it's just a matter of time before it happens. I think if it's going to happen, we need to be as much a part of the conversation about what happens with our water as we can be. And if it's done the right way, selling our water can be good for our county. And I think we need to be reasonable and willing to compromise on this issue. Education seems to always be on the forefront of everyone's mind. Several of my closest friends are teachers, and over the last few years I've heard them say their frustrations about the new testing standards, and I think there's a lot to be worried about in those new standards and that they should be revisited and possibly reworked. I've also heard about concerns about consolidation, and to me, if you're a dependent school and you're able to handle your finances and you should be able to stay a school and not have to consolidate. And another thing that I guess it's ambitious, but I think that every student across the state should have to take a basic life skills course that teaches such things as how to balance your checkbook and how credit works. Now, I was a big nerd in school, and I love school, but I think that even more than algebra or science, this would be beneficial to graduates. Now, I think we need to keep our bridges and roads serviceable, and if we want to be able to compete in a global market, we have to be willing to keep up with the fast pace of technology. Groceries have continued to rise in cost so much that I think it would be worth it to look at ways to either reduce or remove the grocery tax. I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people that go to Texas and get groceries because they're cheaper and they don't have to pay tax. And every time that someone does that, revenue is leaving our county and our state. So it just makes sense to me to try to find a way to keep that money here. And then for me, a personal issue is waste and waste reduction. And I think that in a county that has as much revenue from tourism as we do, that this should be an issue that's important to everyone, and that we should try our best to keep our gorgeous scenery the way it is. And I think we can expand and improve upon the existing recycling programs that we have. Thank you so much for considering me and for coming out in the cold to listen to me and my fellow candidates. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. As most of you here know, I'm a native of this county. And as I travel the county and talk to the folks, the biggest issue that comes up time and again is water. And I'll tell you up front, I think that we have to protect our water here in this county. I think we need to be sure that it stays here in this county. And a couple of the reasons are this. We're not opposed to helping folks that need water. And if they really need it, then what we need to do is to bring a company in here to bottle the water and sell it to them downstream. Because if we hook up to a pipeline of water and send it south or send it to Oklahoma City, the research that I've done tells me that where the water goes, so goes the economic development, so goes the tourism and recreation. So we must protect our natural resource, specifically the water here in this county, if we want to continue to survive and have things for our children and our grandchildren. By the way, I have 12 of them, and I think 8 of them live in this county. So I'm very interested in what goes forth when it comes to our natural resources. Jobs and economy is a big thing, but we have to have an infrastructure to support that if we are to bring jobs and economy in here. And the infrastructure I'm talking about is roads. We have to continue to improve our roads. We don't have adequate housing, and we're going to bring jobs in here. So we must improve our infrastructure. People say, well, what about our tax structure? Well, as you know, proposals up there right now to do away with income tax. Now, folks, if we do away with state income tax, personal income tax, then that's about a third, almost 35% of our gross revenue that we get from the state. We'll either have to replace it with something or cut services. If you cut services, you lose infrastructure. If we were to cut a third of our budget, we would lose about 17,000 school teachers. We'd lose about 19,000 kids from Oklahoma's Promise, which is sending those kids to college to give them the opportunity to better themselves. I'm one of the few that, I would like to have less taxes, but if we do those things and do away with income tax, they will replace it with one of two things, either sales tax. We're already the 5th highest state in the union paying sales tax at 8.65%. So that's not a good option. The other option is to add to property tax. The state of Texas doesn't have a state income tax, but they do pay a property tax that's about 4 times what we pay here in the state of Oklahoma. So we need to be careful, and we need to use some common sense as we go through these things, and when we are looking at bills that we're trying to pass in the state legislature, and how they affect the folks back here at home. And that's exactly what I intend to do when I get there, is use good common sense to evaluate the process so that I can take care of and pull for the folks here in McCurtain County. We must continue to look after our elderly, We must continue to fight for our rural hospitals, our rural firefighters, because folks, that's the safety, that's the good feeling that you get at night knowing that they're there. But it takes time, it takes money, and folks, it takes lots of help from everybody to make those things happen. Schools have been mentioned. As y'all know, I'm a 29-year member of education. I've taught kids. I've been an administrator for 16 years. I worked in the private sector for 9. I've auctioneered at OKC West and Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City and J&J Stockyards in Texarkana. So I've got a wide variety of things that I've done throughout my life. But education has been my passion. I enjoy watching people learn, and I enjoy watching kids be successful. And in our education structure here in the county, they continue to want to consolidate. I'm against consolidation. Somebody asked me the other day, well, if we had 2 schools, what would that do to you in the county? If we had 2 schools in the county, what would that do to you? I'm a kindergartner that lives at Honubby. She rides the bus almost an hour to get to Smithville. If you add another hour to get her to Broken Bow, that's 2 hours for a kindergartner on a bus. That's not common sense, folks. We all know that. So we have to use common sense when we're looking at consolidations, when we're looking at all types of rural school. Common sense. We don't hear that much. Mr. Skipper talked about using some common sense a while ago. I think he's right. We have to use that. Next Tuesday when you go to vote, I've told folks all across the county, here's what you need to do. You need to get up on Tuesday morning, take your Valentine out to eat. On the way, stop and vote, preferably for me. When you get through eating, tip the waiter nice. And at the end of the day, we're all happy. So folks, we appreciate y'all being here. I know it's cold, but you've come to listen. Hopefully you've learned and garnered some things that will be beneficial next Tuesday to you. But again, thank you for being here, and I would appreciate your vote on Valentine's Day. Thank you.